Welcome to the Cool Fireman Podcast, a virtual firehouse kitchen table with What's a Rolfie, Unky, Fireman 1231, JDB Cubed, and Fireman Freddy. Let's get to the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Cool Fireman Podcast. We've got Doug, Matt, Freddy here, and let me tell you, we have one heck of a guest this week. He is, let's be serious, everybody knows him. He is a author 10 times over. He is a leadership guru, FDIC keynote speaker. Anytime you talk about leadership, his name gets brought up. He's got books like Sprinkles the Fire Dog, Step Up and Lead, Step Up Your Teamwork. He has his own podcast, and he is gracing us with his presence for our podcast right now. Please, everybody, welcome Chief Frank Viscuso.
Listen, so I'm going to tell you right now, you are hired as my new hype man. That was a great introduction. I thought I was coming on here for cooking advice, but now I think I just found an agent.
Well, not for me. You said you didn't like one.
And you know, that was a joke, by the way. I follow your recipes.
So as we do every week here on the Cool Fireman Podcast, we're going to take a brief moment of silence for anybody we may have lost in the last week. So indulge us with that real quick, please. Thank you very much for that. So we're going to jump into it. Chief, again, thank you for coming on. I first was exposed to, I guess, your works, your style, when I was studying for a promotional exam, and your Step Up and Lead book was one of the reading books that we had to read, and then it was part of the test. And when I first saw it on the list, I was like, okay, all right, we've got strategies and tactics, and we've got firefighter essentials, and then they're gonna make me read a book, like a book. And I kid you not, I didn't do very well on the lieutenant's test. It was my first one. I think I had 6 years on. I wasn't really ready to be a lieutenant, but I definitely overlooked the strategies and tactics and the firefighter essentials because I got hooked on the Step Up and Lead book, and I spent most of my time reading that. And maybe, unfortunately for you, there was only 10 questions on the 100-question test on Step Up and Lead. So I kind of put my eggs in the wrong basket, if you will. But reading the book has helped me significantly in my everyday life and in my career. So I guess where I want to start is what thrust you into the leadership guidance kind of.
You know, there's so many aspects of how this all happened. First of all, I'm not an author who became a firefighter. I still type with just a few fingers. Never learned how to type the right way, which is fine for me, by the way. When I'm teaching people how to utilize the talent around them, I tell them, don't expect or stop expecting you from other people. As an example, I have a friend who's a phenomenal typer. He types so fast, I can't think that fast. And that's the key. I can't think that fast. So if I were to type at his speed, I'm typing faster than my mind processes the thought I'm trying to type, which wouldn't work. My system works for me. His system works for me. Find what systems work for people and let them do their thing. But I wasn't an author who became a firefighter. I was a firefighter that I think the catalyst for me was having experienced a life where I kind of dealt with a lot of self-doubt. And where I work is just across the river from New York City. So when 9/11 happened, we could see the buildings on fire. You know, we could see the smoke. We could see them collapse. And a group of firefighters from my department had the next day gone over to see if there's anything we can do to assist, which there was very little. But having the experience of being over there, I spent the next few days kind of reflecting, saying, why am I living this way where I'm not really going after my dreams because I see how quick life could be taken away? You know, I mean, think about this. How did you start this podcast? What other podcast starts with a moment of silence for people we may have lost this week? The accounting podcasts don't do that. Do you know what I mean? In our industry, we're so connected to the possibility that something can go tragically wrong and a life can be altered so quickly that I just finally said, I'm going to go after this. And you have to understand this, and I've said this before. I graduated in the half of the class that made the top half possible, okay? Was not a great student, not very smart, but that was what led me to start writing books. But it wasn't until probably 8 years after I wrote my first book, I started teaching in the fire service. I wrote my second book with Chief Mike Turpak about Fireground Operational Guides, which was a tactical book. I taught some classes in that, went to FDIC. You mentioned FDIC. I taught a class on tactics at FDIC. My reviews weren't that good. And it wasn't even so much about the content. It was about the delivery. And what I realized when I was sitting in the airport waiting for my flight home, what I realized was this. I'm teaching a topic I shouldn't be teaching about. It's not that I shouldn't be teaching about tactics. It's the fact that there's people that are so much better at teaching tactics than me. Let me let the best at what they do be the best at what they do. What my passion has always been is leadership, team development. That's where my passion's always been. And there, after receiving bad reviews at FDIC, is where I conceived the idea to write the book Step Up and Lead, because that's where my passion was. And here's a secret to it. And I'm glad you kind of said what you said, where you kind of got engaged with that book. When I wrote Step Up and Lead, I have 3 boys that I'm raising. And my 2 are, I mean, they're young. When I wrote it, they were very young. And now they're my 2 youngest are 12 and 13. I wrote that book thinking I may not ever sell 20 copies, but that's not why I'm writing it. I'm writing the book because I want to put a message out to the world that I believe in. And I'm going to write this with this simple concept. My kids, if anything ever happens to me, will always know what their dad stood for.
I love that.
That was it. But to this day, that's still my drive for writing. You mentioned, it's funny, Sprinkles the Fire Dog. You know, my drive for that is to have these young readers read an inspirational story to make them realize that you don't have to listen to the corner mutts that are barking, telling you you're no good. You don't have to listen to your own self-doubt. You don't have to believe people that say you're not ready. You can go out and make and create the life you want. You can go after your dreams. And I want kids to have that early on, because although my parents never told me otherwise, I just didn't believe it in myself. Or something was inside of me that believed in other people's opinions of me more than I believed in myself. And when I finally figured that out about myself, I said, I'm done listening to them. I'll listen to them, but I'm done letting them affect me. I'm going to focus on where I want to go. And that's where the whole lead yourself portion of my leadership classes came. If you could learn to lead yourself, you can learn to lead other people, but it has to start with you leading you. And that's saying that you probably heard, you know, a leader of one can one day become a leader of many, but if you can't lead one, you'll never lead any. That one is you leading you.
That's deep. Speaking of corner mutts, if you haven't been to one of is it okay if I call you Frank, or should I call you Chief?
Of course, no, call me Frank.
I'm gonna get a right.
Listen, you know, here's what's funny. last night we had an all-star baseball game, and I put on Facebook, hey, if anybody wants to come out and support the team. I coach down at Tom's River East Little League, and you know, we have a really great program. But as I mentioned before we went live, these kids are they're fully developed right now. They're playing so well at the right time. It's all coming together. And what's interesting is I had a few firefighters show up because I put out Facebook, and they're in the area that, hey man, we came to see you. And it's funny because they come up and they're still calling me Chief. I retired a few years ago. But what's funny is all the kids that come to watch, all different age groups, are calling me Coach. And he says to me, what do you like better, Chief or Coach? I said, I don't know, but I feel way more connected to Coach right now than Chief, because I'm so engaged in the coaching aspect of it.
It's many different
hats. Call me Frank.
many different
hats, but it's the same.
So you had mentioned corner mutts, and if you haven't been to one of Frank's lectures, he spoke last year in an area that I was available to go in and sit in his Step Up Your Teamwork lecture, and we actually made a pretty awesome connection. I think after everything was done, we talked about our sons playing baseball. I helped you create your TikTok account.
And I have a funny story about that when you're ready, by the way.
And the one thing that I think is really a good takeaway is the corner mutts, because a lot of times when you talk with different firefighters, and I'm sure you talk with hundreds of them across the nation, is you hear the phrase like only the names change, or same shit, different department.
Right.
And you spoke about corner mutts, and that one really hits home with me, because there are people on every department who will literally just sit there and try and drag you down, correct?
Yes, and see, I like to put firefighter, you can do this with any profession, but you put them into 4 categories. You got your chargers, coasters, complainers, and your corner mutts, and I'll explain them briefly. Hard chargers get things done. Any organization that's achieved anything significant at all has a group of hard chargers. These are the people that care the most, do the most, have vision, and love the job. Second category is coasters. And someone said, you go right from hard charger to coaster, nothing in between. I said, yes, but let me explain why. Because coasters do the minimum. And the minimum is all you need to do to keep a job in this world, right? But see, the minimum is only a problem if you set low standards in your organization. If you set a high enough standard, someone doing the minimum is going to be a great performer. Take, for example, Princeton Wrestling. Princeton, if you become a wrestler in Princeton for their program, they have something called the Higher Standard Manual. Their standard is called the Higher Standard. So if you become a wrestler at Princeton, they give you this manual. And one of the pages tells you everything an All-American does. And this is basically what they say. If you intend to be an All-American, this is the minimum. This is what you have to do to become an All-American. Now, doing this doesn't guarantee you'll be an All-American, but not doing it guarantees you won't be. So their standard is high enough that if you do the minimum, you could very well become an All-American. So you got hard chargers, coasters, then you got complainers. Now, complainers have a problem for every solution. They're just complaining about everything, right? They'll complain about the chief. They'll complain about the new guy. They'll complain about the systems. They'll complain about the apparatus. They'll complain about everything. The difference between complainers and corner mutts are this. They actually sound exactly alike. But complainers actually care. They're frustrated. They're burnt out. They don't like the way things are going. They don't like how cliques are forming, or nobody's communicating, or people are disciplining to punish instead of disciplining to correct behavior. They're feeling underappreciated, and they kind of lose their way. And next thing you know, they start. And I like to explain it this way. This is what a person in this category would be. The complainers. What they would be is consider this. See, pigs don't mind rolling around in the mud, smelling and stinking like a pig. And do you know why? Because pigs have no idea that pigs stink. That's their environment. They only know their environment. So if you sit around with a bunch of people that are complaining all the time, you're going to start complaining all the time too. And you're going to be thinking these people are so negative, not realizing you're just as negative as them, because in your mind, you don't think you're anything like them. That's the danger of people in that category, the complainers. The corner mutts, man, they don't care. They never did care. You know, they're there for a whole different reason than you and I are there for. Maybe it's for a pension, maybe whatever. They don't, and sometimes, you know, they're going there and that's not even their primary job. Their primary job is the one, they're going to go there and hopefully get some rest because they're working tomorrow morning. And you know what I'm talking about? So they're they're the dangerous ones, because they would love it if you didn't care also. And so you have to be careful not to let them suck you in. So 3 of the 4 categories are actually not a bad place to be. We just have to talk to the complainers and bring them back and say, listen, we know you're frustrated, but don't allow yourself to get to roll around in the mud too much, because then you're going to not realize that your environment is one that you helped change for the worse. Does that make sense?
I think what you said that hit the most home with me, or made the most sense to me, was the complainers. They do care, or else they wouldn't complain.
Right.
So it doesn't take much to turn that person around and put them back into, even if they get into the coaster range, that's fine. We're okay with coaster.
Yep.
Because you can depend on them when you have to. They're just not going to go above and beyond. And that's just maybe not who they are, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah, not everybody's going to be an All-American either. You think about a wrestling room, if you're familiar with the sport, which I've followed. I wrestled for many years and I followed for many years. And I've had several D1 coaches on my podcast to talk about this. Your wrestling room is very important. You're only going to put 10 kids on the mat for a match, but you're going to have 35 in the wrestling room. And the other, 25 are going to help. It's iron sharpening iron. So they make a big deal. Like, it's a big deal. Like, if you graduate and you're a graduate and you decide, hey, I'm going to stay the next 2 years and I'm going to help out in a wrestling room and I'm going to help develop the next generation. That's a very big deal when you have returning All-Americans and national champions helping develop the next crop of kids. And because that's, again, helping set that higher standard and to teach them this is what you need to do to succeed. At the same time, there are kids that wrestle that have D1 All-American potential, but they have the wrong attitude. They fallen into the complainer level to a point where organizations get rid of them. With this transfer portal that's open now, they're like saying, yeah, jump into it. We'll sign you off. You can compete against us. We're fine with that. Because they're just not the culture.
That's a good analogy. The college transfer portal is a big deal. Yeah, that's a whole other topic. But yes, that's a really good way to mesh it together.
Doug, I got a question for you. I see that behind you, Jay Bishop.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me about James? Who's James?
Me.
That's you. Okay.
Yeah, my middle name is Douglas.
Oh, okay. Because I see Doug on the name before. Okay, that's a great.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if it was like a brother or
that's Doc Holliday from Tombstone.
It looks like Doc Holliday. Oh my God, it is Doc Holliday. All right, I see that now. I see it now.
It's when he shot Johnny Ringo in the forehead.
Let me tell you something. He was the best Doc Holliday. It's funny how those two movies, Tombstone and Wyatt Earp, come out at the same time.
And so opposite.
So opposite, but they both did good Doc Hollidays. I got to give them both credit, but that was the best Val Kilmer, man. Oh, that's funny that you say that. I'm looking at that thinking that looks like a young firefighter. I think I need a bigger computer screen.
No, I'm a third, and my father was James, my grandfather was JD, and I was Douglas, and I don't like Douglas. So
okay, and they were in the fire service also?
No, I'm a first-generation fireman. Well, I don't know of anybody else in my family that's been. Well, I got a cousin that works in my department, but yeah.
And how about you, Fred?
Yeah,
you guys have a family in the fire service?
No, so I'm first generation anything medical. My mom was a teacher, special needs teacher for a while, blind and hearing impaired.
Oh, God bless her.
My dad has always been a marketer, sales. I used to say he could sell ketchup popsicles to a man in the desert with white gloves. So, I kind of broke the mold. I went to college. I was kind of told like, you're going to go this path and then this is what you'll do. And I've got contacts and I can get you in and, you'll work 9 to 5 for 40 years and this, that, and the other and whatever. And I did it for 3 or 4 years at Western Michigan University. I had the time of my absolute life, but didn't get much accomplished. And that's when I sat down with my parents. I'm like, listen, I want to go to paramedic school. I want to get into the fire academy, and that's the way I want to go. And begrudgingly, they agreed. And here I am, 16, 17 years later.
Amazing. That's fantastic. Yeah, and Matt, I want to ask you too, but before I get there, I got to tell you, Freddie. So I did a class, and Freddie and we were talking afterwards, and he was telling me, hey, are you on TikTok? And I remember, I think I said, that's the dance thing, right?
Yeah.
it's more than just that. And he showed me his profile, and at the time, I think you had like about 80 or 90,000 followers. It was a crazy number.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I've been developing my Step Up and Lead page for like 12 years, and I think I had maybe 50 or 60,000 followers, and now it's about 130,000. But I remember thinking, this must be and you convinced me. You said, you can get these short 1-minute messages out there, and I think people would gravitate towards it. So he helps me start a profile. And after I started, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just throwing a couple videos on there now and then. I'm not really extremely active on it, but I have to tell you the story. In New Jersey, I come and I do a class one evening, a 2-hour class, and they bring me in, and I probably have firefighters from about 15 different departments there. And after the class, a couple young ones approach me, and the guy says, "Yeah, we were on duty tonight, and we said we're going to hear this guy speak. We didn't know about you or your books or anything, but as soon as we saw you, we said that's the guy from TikTok."
Oh, I
I
love
said,
it.
"What? TikTok?" I had like 8,000 followers. I thought of you immediately. I'm like, I got to tell Freddie this one.
Yeah.
I think I know these guys probably have too. We get a lot of grief from guys that are
So Matt, how about
you guys are dancing, blah blah blah.
Freddie's got 90,000 followers, and he still hasn't been recognized on the streets. That's pretty impressive. Hey,
Nope.
That's
Sorry.
fantastic.
Nope.
That's because he needs to walk around with a bowl of spaghetti in his hands. Then everybody would know who he is.
Well, at that, or if they'd be fed.
Yeah.
I'm driving home from work, and I originally told the guys that I wasn't going to be home. And I'm on the West Coast, so I'm 3 hours behind you guys, so I don't get off till 7, which would be 10 o'clock your time. So I'm watching home, but I was on my way home, and I'm like, you know what? I can't miss this one. Like I wanted to sit in on this one for sure. It's a big deal in my department right now with career development and a lot of leadership classes that we're taking. I just read a book. Your book's next, by the way. I just read a Simon Sinek book, Leaders Eat Last. I really enjoyed it. And so I'm looking forward to reading your Step Up and Lead, I believe is what it's called. But yeah, we're going through that a lot right now. Our department specifically, because we're such a young department with so many retirements. And I don't know if this is happening across the nation, but the baby boomers are leaving us. And we only have 36 firefighters on the floor in my department. We're not as big as Doug's. And so
There it is.
sorry, I had to throw that in there. And just in our firefighter rank, we have 12 firefighters, and I think 11 out of the 12 have less than 3 years on. And so
Wow.
yeah. And so we have a big opportunity for a cultural change, and a lot of the old guys, I'll say old guys because that's what they call themselves in the fire service, they're all leaving, and the good and the bad, we're losing experience, but we're also gaining these hard chargers, like you're saying, which I'm just sitting here, your points about the 4 different types of people. And I know, and I'm not going to speak for Freddie and for Doug, but I probably could, that we're sitting here and everybody listening to this is putting a name to all 4 of those different pillars. And it's just amazing that as easy as it sounds, I know it's a complex, idea, or that you came up with those different 4 things. But now just listening to it, I mean, anybody, lay person, can listen to what you just said, and it's like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. This guy does this for the department, and this guy doesn't, and whatever else. And you're going to have all of them, right? There's no way that there's any fire department out there that doesn't have someone from each 4 of those pillars that you're talking about.
Even a small department like yours, Matt.
Yeah. 100%. Our small little department,
That's not fire department agnostic. Like that's nationwide in every.
It's everything. It's everything. And the whole thing about I used to have 3 categories: chargers, coasters, and complainers. But then I really thought a lot about it and thought about how the complainers, they're getting a bad rap here because some of them really do care. And that's where the corner mutts came in as the 4th category, who just sit in the corner and bark. And we all got them. We all have them in our life. And sometimes that corner mutt is in your own head. Your own head is telling you, you can't do it. This place stinks. Yeah, I had I sat down with a group of career firefighters. In my classes, I do this a lot, actually. I talk about 6 primary reasons why people work. And I want you to think about this. People work. If I were to volunteer my time for an organization or to serve on a board, as an example, or if I were to become a career anything in the world, why am I choosing to do this? Here's why people would work. Time, money, security, recognition, belong to a team, or to make a difference. 6 primary reasons. There could be a million reasons, but like, let's say, for example, hey, I'm young, I'm working because I want this car. Well, then you're really working for money because it takes money to get the car. So that's one of the 6 reasons. Now, how do you work for time? This is like saying, hey, can you work for me Saturday night? You know, I want to catch my daughter's recital, and I know you needed next week off for your son's game. So we swap time for time. I'm trading my time here for my time there. Or let me work a little overtime, and then I can take that weekend getaway with my family. So we know what it means to work for time. Firefighters have that because we have the ability to swap time. We know what it means to work for money, and we know what it means to work for security. And firefighters have time, money, and security. You have the 3 of the 6 primary reasons why people work. Well, check it out. Let's go a little deeper. Do firefighters make a difference in the community they serve? Absolutely. So they have 4 of the 6 primary reasons why people would work. Do firefighters belong to a team? Yes. We have companies. We have stations. We have groups, and we have the whole department. So we're teams upon teams. So you have 5 of the 6 primary reasons why people work. The only one you don't actually have is recognition. And recognition, here's the key to it. You don't have to get recognition from your chief. We don't need recognition from the mayor. We don't need recognition from the article in the newspaper. It's recognition we give to each other. It's the recognition of us saying, hey, man, that you did a great job at that call. I'm really proud of you. Because getting recognition from the person next to you in that jump seat, the person next to you on that apparatus, carries way more weight than getting you write a piece of paper from the mayor, in my opinion. So,
For sure.
yeah, and if we get good at doing that, providing recognition for our coworkers, you have the 6 primary reasons why people work. Now, think about this. If you do, and I like to compare this to like my accountant, great guy, love the guy, but he works alone. He can't trade time. He can't take time off. He can't, he doesn't work with a team. He works by himself. So he doesn't have a lot of the things that a firefighter would have, as just as an example in that setting. If you have everything that we have as firefighters and you're coming to work miserable, you need to recalibrate, man. You need to reset. You need to recharge. You need to do something to get yourself out of the funk. Because right now, if you're coming to work miserable, you are a pig rolling around in the mud, not realizing that you stink, like the other pigs next to you that are complaining about what? And this is what the message that I really want people to understand. Stop complaining about things you don't have control over. Well, we explain to our baseball players, these little kids, these 12-year-old kids, try to get to Williamsport, right? 180,000 teams in Little League. 10 from America make it to Williamsport. 10. It used to be 8 up until last year. Now it's 10. And the Little League that we're at has had a pretty storied run at getting teams there. Hopefully we get my son's team there this year. But one of the things we teach these kids is control the controllables. Control what you can control. And you can't control certain things. You can't control, if you just, somebody hit a ball to a gap, it found a hole. I don't know if anybody last night was just the game 3, Florida versus LSU.
Yeah.
Right? So Florida. And I got, one of my friends growing up, his son's a pitcher on Florida. He's injured now, but he's a pitcher with the University of Florida. And I got friends that are, and I've been to see LSU play. And so, I love both teams, and that's the bottom line. But Florida destroys them the game before. I don't even know the score, 24 to something.
24-4, I think.
24-4, right? LSU wins game 1. Florida wins game 2 by annihilating them. And then they come out and score a 2-run home run in the first inning. And it looks like they're going to pick up right where they left off. LSU, no, man. They just hammered line drives, grounders in between shortstop and third, a couple walks, hit more grounders, more ground. And I'm texting the coaches going, you watching this game? This is what we're talking to our kids about. Stop trying to hit home runs. Just hit good, hard hit baseball. Because if you just do that, that's how you win. And that's how you win in life. You just gotta be relentless, but you have to control the controllables. If balls fall where nobody was, you can't control that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm watching this game thinking, if I was the coach of Florida, all I'm thinking is, when are some of these balls going to actually get hit to our players? Because they're going in every place where we have no chance of making the play. They didn't play bad. The balls are finding the holes. That you can't control that. Credit to LSU, but you can't control that. But that's in life. It's in the fire service. It's everywhere. Control your controllables and don't get caught up on the things you can't control. You have to be able to shake them off and try to pick up and do what you can with what you have.
So, like, real quick with sprinkles.
Yeah.
My wife and I joke, and I think I want to do it. I just got to figure out how. I watched my niece about a month or so back, and she's, Uncle Brent, can we read a book? Sure. So she goes upstairs and she grabs like 4 books, and all 4 books are about firefighters. Mm-hmm. And I'm super excited. I'm like, yeah, let's read these books, Isla. So excited. Every stinking book has a firefighter saving a cat from a tree. Like, it was like getting on my nerves about it. And I kind of was venting to my wife about it. And I was like, how come that's like literally what the public sees? That's what we're teaching children, is that's what firefighters do. And she's like, well, you should write a book for kids about what firefighters really do. And that's where I think Sprinkles comes in, because while it's not like a firefighter, it's a part of the fire department, and Sprinkles is like something that you can attach yourself to. How did Sprinkles kind of evolve for you? And now there's Sprinkles too, right?
Yeah. And well, first of all, I'll tell you that I knew a dispatcher. I'm not going to say he worked for me or our department. But one time somebody called and said, there's a cat in a tree. Can you send the fire department? He says, yeah, ma'am, we don't do that. This is years and years and years ago. You need to understand that. He says, we don't do that. She says, well, but the cat's stuck in a tree. He says, have you ever seen a cat skeleton in a tree? I use that line all the time. Yeah. He'll come down when he's ready, So, Sprinkles. The, first and foremost, to my memory, it was the first thing I had ever actually written, the first story I had actually written, because it was over 25 years ago. And I remember I wasn't feeling well one time, and I was home, and I lived alone at the time. And I found that writing, and this was where it all started, writing just made me feel better. Took my mind off of things. Somebody once said to me, what do you do to stop an active mind? Because I'm an overthinker. I say writing is one thing, but you have to try to be in the moment. Get out of your head and get into the world. But writing helps me do that. And so I sat down, and I don't know really what made me think. I just thought, what if there's this dog? He's a Dalmatian, but he only has one spot. So he doesn't really even know if he's a Dalmatian. That's how it started. And he wants to be a fire dog, but he's undersized. He doesn't look the role. And as I started writing this little story, I wrote in the corner mutts. 3 dogs that sat on the corner that basically ridiculed him and said, you're foolish to think you can be a fire dog on that apparatus in a big city. So here's this lonely dog in a big city, doesn't look the part, doesn't feel part, has a lot of self-doubt, has the corner mutts telling him he can't do it. And even at one point, one of the firefighters saying, hey, maybe one day he can be a fire dog. And he's thinking, one day, why not now? And then he comes later on and he says to himself, he goes, wait a minute. He didn't say no forever. He said no for now. And that little thing, that little seed that planted in the dog's head makes him think, what if I'm going to train? What if I believed in myself and I trained and prepared for this? And he does, and he trains himself. And then a moment happens where he proves he does have what it takes. He becomes a fire dog. And yeah, we added fire into it. I mean, there's one scene in it that could be a little scary for kids. And Paul, first of all, if you want to write a children's book, somebody
You got to have Paul Combs.
You have to have Paul Combs illustrated. Okay, that's the key to writing a successful children's book. But we had written this book, and there was a little, one or two dark pages. We said, but that's it. That's what it really is. Matter of fact, we wrote part 2, and part 2 was a little bit more of helping other people and helping another character. And Paul will be mad at me that I'm telling you this, but part 3 is written. The third book gets more into fires again. It gets more into it. And so it's, it'll talk a little bit about, hey, they do water rescues, they do fires, and it has a really intense scene in it. And, hopefully that's something that he finds the time and says, hey, now's the right time for me to do this, because I really like that story. But but now here's the other part of it. And this is what I want all your listeners to understand. I told you I wrote this thing 25 years ago. I didn't really fully forget about it. I just never thought about it. Now I become, an author of 8 books. I have a lot. I'm having a lot of success, with some of them. They're Amazon bestsellers. There's people are reading them throughout the fire service. It launches a speaking career. I speak 60 times a year throughout the country on leadership and team development. Love it. It's my passion. Thing I love doing the most. Other than being with my family.
And great at it too.
Oh, I appreciate that. I love doing it. I mean, if there's anything that I feel this is what I'm supposed to be, it's funny. I'm more comfortable in a room of 150 people than I am in a room of just 3, which is odd, but it's how I'm built. But the special stuff.
I've never had a problem speaking either.
Well, listen, and it's cool when you see, because people like, don't you have a fear of speaking? I'm like, I don't. I don't know why, but I don't. Maybe I did at some point.
Yeah, I never did either. I don't know why.
And that's awesome. It's all because it helped. Because listen, how do firefighters learn? Firefighters learn through writing or through presentations. So if you have the ability to communicate through either of those methods, you're going to have a great ability to spread a message. And back to the sprinkle story, though, about 5 years ago, I'm on duty, and my parents were opening up a time capsule that everybody put stuff in. Videos, paper, pictures, everything from my family, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles. We buried it. It was buried, I don't know how long. I want to say for 10 years. I think it was 10 years. So it was buried for 10 years. And I couldn't be there because I'm on duty. And it just so happened I got called in as mandatory. So I had to go. I was going to go to the opening of the time capsule, but my wife and my kids went. And then I come home the next day and my wife says, the kids want to show you something. And they show me this thing that was in PVC piping, so it's all rolled up, and it was a piece of paper, and it was the story of sprinkles. And my wife says, "Did you write this?" I said, "I did, yeah." She says, "Why don't you read it to the boys? Because they're pretty young." And so I read the story to Sprinkles, and my wife said, "You need to make that into a book." I said, "Oh, I would love to." And then I reached out to Paul Combs. I said, "Did you ever think about doing a children's book?" And he was like, "People ask me all the time, Frank." And he honestly wasn't that interested. He said, "But send it to me. I'll take a look." I sent it to him. I'm now shopping this around trying to find another illustrator, thinking he's not going to do it. And he calls me up. He says, "I want to do it." I said, "Why?" And this is what he said. The corner mutts. I want to do it because he has corner mutts in his life. And I love how he didn't let them keep him down. Because I have corner mutts in my life too. And that was what appealed to him, right? Like our conversations come in full story or full circle here.
100%.
But that's the thing, man. You can't let these people keep you down. They're going to do. I'm dealing with this with my kids right now. My son right now. I mean, he's playing fully developed. He's playing beautiful. 700 plus on base percentage, 600 batting average, and he's crushed it. And he's low in the lineup. I said to him, control your controllables.
That's it.
Wherever they put you in a lineup doesn't matter. Do what you can with what you have. But don't worry about it. He says, they got this little wiggle dance that they do when they get a double. He got a double yesterday. He does the wiggle dance, and everybody's like, "Oh, Nick, you got to take dancing lessons. You can't." And he's laughing about it. He goes, "I know what I'm going to say to him." if they say it again to me in practice, like, Nick, you can't dance, you're going to say, at least I had the opportunity to dance.
Like that's right.
Joke.
That's right.
The kitchen table. It doesn't just exist on podcasts. It doesn't just exist in it exists in sports.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure. Brady, you got some
I
some
do.
stuff.
I do. So and it's funny because I keep saying this, and maybe one day we'll have it. Like, we don't have this background music or splash screen that says like turnout drill. We kind of just jump into it. But one question that we've kind of been doing every podcast, and we've really been liking the answers, is one person, dead or alive, that you could have lunch with. Who would it be?
You know what? And it doesn't have to be anyone in the fire service, right?
No, we've had George Washington. We've had a whole bunch of people.
All right, you're gonna first of all, I'm going to tell you it's going to be Dave Grohl. Okay, it's Dave Grohl. But let me explain.
Nirvana.
Let me explain why. Yes, George Washington would be amazing. Yes, I mean, the part of me wants to say Jesus Christ. A part of me wants to say, the great.
That one too.
Right? I mean, but I'm going to tell you why Dave Grohl. Because in my opinion, there's no one who has achieved the level of success that he has, that has maintained a level of humility the way he has, that has somehow found ways to continuously pull other people up. The fact, I mean, the guy that beat him in a battle of the bands, he brought out to play with them in high school, right? He brought him out to play with them. This girl drummer that's world renowned famous right now is famous because she challenged him to a drum off during a pandemic, and he responded. The fact that this guy pulls people on stage at concerts and says, "So you can play guitar? Yeah, okay, come on, play this song with us.
Show me."
And he revives people's careers. I remember he brought out Rick Ashley to sing, that Never Gonna Let You Down song. And who would think at a Foo Fighters concert you'd have the entire audience singing?
Old.
Right,
Old.
right. And I'm thinking, like, here's a guy that I'd love to just pick his brain about first of all being in two mega bands, two phenomenal bands.
Yeah.
And also think about this. You want a great lesson on leadership? He was a follower before he was a leader, because he was a drummer that didn't make his own songs, didn't even say, hey, to Kurt Cobain, why don't you try this or that? Because when he was asked, did you ever suggest a song to Kurt? He goes, no. Absolutely. I mean, I was the drummer in that band. That was my role. But on the side, what was he doing? He was making songs on the side and doing his own thing on the side. And then now he's in a leadership role. So there's so many things about him. As I love the band. I love the music. But I'm taking that out of the equation. It's the type of person he is. And I'm sorry it took such a long time to answer, but I wanted to explain.
That's why we love. That's why we love these, because it makes you think.
Great answer.
Thank you. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh,
a superpower. Oh my gosh! What's funny is I just saw somebody ask this question: if you had a superpower, what would it be? And I didn't really process the thought that much, but I think it would have to do something with the ability to, I don't know if I want to say see into the future, but to control my brain at a higher level, to access more of my brain so I can understand things at a higher level. It wouldn't be something like to be invisible or to fly or to have super strength.
So it's like limitless with
yes.
Yeah.
Perfect way to explain it.
Bandwidth.
It's
bandwidth.
Imagine to be able to access more of your brain, because I honestly think if the average person, and I don't know if the average person is accessing like 5% of their brain, I feel like I'm accessing 3%. I'm not joking. I do, because I'm like, I think everybody's smarter than me. I'm just really good at the things I'm good at, but everybody. And I'm okay with that too, by the way.
Well, you're humble, Chief, and you're too hard on yourself.
No, I appreciate that. And I'm glad you're not driving anymore, because it was making me nervous.
No, not for it, but I couldn't miss it until I'll beat it. So
with you doing a lot of traveling, you're kind of on the road, flying a lot. What's the weirdest thing that you have eaten?
The weirdest thing that I have eaten. Well, you see, what's weird that I have eaten is probably wouldn't be weird anywhere else. I don't know that I've ever, other than live monkey brain, I don't think I've ever.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I didn't eat it. I'm kidding.
like, Jesus.
We almost had to retire that question because you almost just won.
Yeah, no. I don't know that I've ever really. I mean, I've tried some. Anytime I go anywhere, I want to try something that's like I'm out in a certain state and they're like, hey, you got to try the alligator here, and I'll try the alligator, and I'll never really be like, well, that's the best thing I've ever tasted. But I've had some strange things. I don't really know that there's anything that would beat any of the answers you've probably already received. But I can't imagine that there's something I haven't tried at this point either, which is strange. I was hoping you were going to say, where's the best place you've ever been or something like that? Because immediately when I think of that question, and this revolves around food too, is one day, I went out to keynote in Maine. And so I spent 3 days out in Maine because it's Maine. Why not? It's beautiful right off and 3 days in a row for lunch and dinner, I had lobster because it's when they talk about Maine lobster being the best lobster, I couldn't believe how fresh it was, right? And I live on the Jersey Shore coast here, so and Maine lobster was phenomenal. So here was what was really cool about it. As I'm eating the lobster, I said to the woman, "This is my third day here. It's only lunch, and it's the third, like my fifth lobster meal. I'm gonna have it for dinner again." I said, "I can't believe how good it is." And she says, "Well," and we're sitting on a restaurant on the ocean. She says, "Will you see that boat right there?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "That's bringing in our lobster for tomorrow."
Oh.
I said, "That's why it's so fresh."
That's so cool.
That's why it's so fresh. So as far as the weirdest thing I've ever ate, I don't know, but I can tell you the best thing I ever ate was lobster in Maine. Or pizza in New Haven, by the way.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
proud of Jersey pizza. It's phenomenal, but New Haven, Connecticut is unbelievable pizza.
It's not New Haven. That's right.
Right.
What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Elf's up there. I think it's hard to not go with A Christmas Story, though, as the number one.
Yeah.
Because you can still recite every line from that, not a finger.
And then let's go with cold weather or warm weather?
Warm weather.
There it is.
Warm weather. Unless I'm on a ski slope, warm weather. And even when I'm on a ski slope, warm weather.
There you go. Well, Chief, this has been awesome. If you guys do not follow the Step Up and Lead page, I know personally there's a lot of times I'll be scrolling through Facebook and one of Chief's little posts, his little anecdotes that he puts in there, and I'll read it and I'm like, son of a bitch, Frank is talking to me again. He is posting this because he has a video camera in my room and he sees what is going on at my station. So much of it is practical in real life. So make sure that you're following Step Up and Lead or Frank Viscuso on all of the socials. What do you have going on, Chief? Anything you want to promote right now?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And by the way, about the posts that go on there, I get that all the time. People say, I needed this today. And my response always is, so did I. That's why I posted it. So, we're all in this thing together trying to figure it out. What's going on is just finishing up and working on another book right now. And ironically enough, I'm writing a scene right now that revolves around a kitchen table at the fire station, which this feels like right now.
I love it.
That's the goal.
And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do, is make it really informal and just kind of chit chat.
Well, you think about it. I mean, there's like psychological significance to the firehouse kitchen, because if the firehouse was a living organism, the kitchen would be its heart, right? But that's a place where people bond. It's a place where people connect. It's a place where real conversations happen. And some of the best conversations I ever had were when there was only two of us in the room. and somebody actually said something that you realize, so wait, no, they really need to talk about something, real conversations. And so, it's a place where people vent. It's a place where that's still politically incorrect in almost every aspect that you can imagine, but at the same time, a place that's necessary for people that see and experience what we experience.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. But what I have going on is, I got engagements coming up in real quick, Ohio, 2 in Michigan, 3 in North Carolina, heading out to Naples, Florida for 4 days, 1 in Connecticut, Oklahoma, back to Michigan, Pennsylvania, a couple webinars, just staying busy. And, I'm always active on social media and my website, which is just my name, frankviscuso.com or commonvalor.com, both bring you to the same one. But I'm just staying active, and I'm currently booking engagements for next year. So if anybody wanted to bring some leadership or team development training to their organization, just send me an email, frank@commonvalor.com, and we can connect and we can talk about it and see if there's a way I can help your organization.
Amazing.
Is your schedule on your website of where you're going to be?
No, it's not. Normally what I do is just a couple days ago, I posted my next, I think, 30 speaking engagements on Step Up and Lead.
Okay.
Facebook page. That's where I tend to do it. I mean, I speak so much, it's hard to keep it updated. I'd have to hire someone full-time just to do that on the website and keep it updated. But all you have to do is shoot me an email. People often shoot me an email saying, are you coming in this area at any time soon? And I'm all over. What I am trying to do is, we got Arkansas coming. I don't think I've done Arkansas yet. This will be the first time in 10 years. It's one of the 5 states I haven't done. North, South Dakota. I think there's a few states I haven't done, but Arkansas being one of them. But just check out Step Up and Lead. It's the best way to follow me. And I probably post about 10 times a day on the site, so I'm very active. It's easy to communicate with me that way.
Awesome.
I'm scrolling through it right now.
This was an awesome episode. Thank you again to Chief Frank Viscuso. Follow him on all the socials. And as for now, it's shift change. So make sure you do your pass-offs, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Roll it, Gigi.
Before you leave, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and give these firemen a huge thumbs up. Also, make sure you check out thecoolfireman.com for more. Thanks!